Hey students, welcome to BBA Simplified. We are starting with the marathon class on Managerial Economics today. To begin Unit 1 of Managerial Economics, the subject that connects economic theory with business decision making. In this chapter, we will understand what economics is, whether it is an art or a science, and why managerial economics is essential for every business leader. So let us begin. Let us first understand what economics means. What are its nature, the scope, whether economics is an art and science, and we will also see the limitations of economics. Economics is the study of how individuals, firms, and government make choices when resources are limited, but when the wants are unlimited. There are different economists that have given various definitions. For example, Adam Smith, he has called economics as the science of wealth, wherein Robbins defined economics as the science of scarcity and choices. Similarly, Marshall said economics as a study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. Now let's try and understand this meaning of economics with an example. There is an airline which has limited seats, but there are thousands of customers looking forward to book those seats. So how it prices those seats, how it allocates them, and when it increases the price. All these decisions reflect economic decision making. So we see that whenever there are limited resources and how these resources are allocated to the societies or the individuals, that is what defines economics. We will further be able to understand economics better as we come on to the nature of economics. We say that economics is a social science. Why? Because it is studied or it studies human behavior. It deals with choices, the alternative uses of resources, and the decision making that people do. It also uses scientific tools like observation, data analysis, and logical reasoning. So the nature of economics uses the scientific methods. It deals with scarcity and choices. So this actually means that whenever we talk about the resources, it is always said that the resources are limited. There is a scarcity of resources, and how we are making a choice so that we can use the resources optimally, or we can have an optimal allocation of those resources so that the resources are used in the best manner. This is what defines economics. For example, when you all go to Netflix, so how Netflix actually works, it increases the subscription rates. It uses the user behavior data to predict who will stay and who might unsubscribe as he increases the rates or the subscription prices. So this is how we actually find out that how with the study of human behavior, the rational decisions can be made. Let's now move on to understand the scope of economics. It is said that economics has a very wide scope. It covers consumption, how much are we consuming. It covers production. On the basis of the demand of the product, how much the industrialist should take the decision on the production. It also covers distribution, that where all the demand of the product comes from. It talks about public finance or exchange. Here we are talking about exchange of money, exchange of products, and exchange of services. The public finances, the international trade, and the growth of the industry altogether. It tells us that how goods are produced, how prices are fixed, how income is distributed, and how economy grows. There is a car company, for example Maruti. It analyzes the consumer demand. On the basis of the demand, the production happens and the production cost is determined. Then further, government taxes are also included into that before they decide the actual pricing strategy of that particular car that is too much into demand. Let's understand economics as an art and or science. We all understand that economics is both an art and a science, but how or why do we call it as science or why do we call it as art? Let's understand this. We are calling economics as science because it has principles, it has models, it has laws, it follows certain laws and theories on which the entire economics is dependent. It uses data and analysis and testing, or it is based on the research. Then it follows cause and effect relationship. We are talking about predicting the cause and the effect relationship. So all these comes under the umbrella of science. Why it is art? Because managers use economic knowledge to take practical decisions. It provides guidelines for solving real problems. It helps managers make the decisions based on these application of theories and the real economic problems. Now let's take an example here. The theory of elasticity we will be discussing in the coming slides, but to understand it now, the theory of elasticity is scientific. But a marketing manager applying discounts based on demand elasticity is actually using economics as an art. So whenever this question on economics as an art or science, you need to elaborate both economics as a science, as an art, and then conclude by stating that it is both an art and a science. Now let's understand the limitations of economics. Economics actually assumes the rational behavior. Right? We are based upon the assumptions of that rational behavior, but humans can be emotional. Economics says that every behavior has a logic behind it, but it is not always the same because human beings are more emotional, right? So this becomes one of the limitation. Then another one is that economic laws are very, very general. They are not universal. Any law that is applicable in one country may not be applicable in the other country because of various reasons. So the controlled experiments are difficult. Predictions may not always be accurate. Whatever predictions we are making, they may not always be accurate. Here I have taken an example of a consumer behavior that changes unexpectedly. Despite of various productions or various predictions, the smartphone customers may suddenly shift to a competitor. Why? Because a competitor creates an hype and influence the market. So this hype and influence marketing or influencer marketing is not a rational analysis. It is completely based on the emotions of the customers. Now let's understand that what is managerial economics. We have already understood what economics is. Now let's understand the theories that meet the business decisions. So that is why we call it as managerial economics. Managerial economics applies economic theory, tools and techniques to the decision making. It answers certain questions like what price should be set, how much should we produce, which market to enter, how do we reduce the cost. So basically managerial economics is creating a correlation with all the economic theories and the business practices. So it helps managers take decisions scientifically and not by guesswork. Right. So to understand economics in action, we will now have to understand the nature of managerial economics. For example, Zomato decides delivery charges. on the basis of what? On the basis of demand forecasting and cost analysis. So this is nothing but this is managerial economics in action. Coming on to the nature, we say that managerial economics is a microeconomics. Why? Because it focuses on the firm level. Then we say that another nature of managerial economics is that it is normative. Why? Because it suggests that what should be done, what a manager should do on the basis of the predictions that he has made. It is also practical and focused on problem solving. It is a pragmatic approach. Then we say that it is a interdisciplinary subject because it uses tools from finance, from statistics, from mathematics, and from psychology. It is also seen that managerial economics is future oriented because whatever decisions we are taking it on the basis of forecasting, and hence the planning is done accordingly. So when Ola and Uber decides the surge pricing, what it is doing, it is actually combining the economics with the mathematics and the behavior of the market. So this is how we actually see that managerial economics is understood. Now let's look at that what all managerial economics covers the different areas. The scope includes demand analysis and forecasting. We talk about production and cost analysis. We also discuss about the pricing decisions, how prices are decided for each and every product or services. We also analyze the profit. We do profit analysis under the scope of managerial economics. We do capital budgeting. We do talk about risk and uncertainty analysis, and we also see the market structure analysis. When we talk about smartphones, the first smartphone that comes into our mind is Apple. So how does Apple works? How does it forecast the demand? It forecasts the demand months in advance to decide that how many iPhones should be produced for the next quarter. So all this comes under the scope of managerial economics. Looking at the significance or relevance of business management, we here understand that economics is ultimately helping the managers so that they can make better decisions. They can choose optimal production levels basis all the calculations. They should be able to determine the pricing strategies by doing the analysis and looking at the competitors. It helps managers to allocate resources efficiently, then minimizing the cost and maximizing the profits. It helps managers to forecast market trends and to handle risks and competitions. Like during COVID or lockdowns when they had come, what had happened that companies had used the economic forecasting so that they are able to estimate the decline in the sales and can adjust their productions accordingly. Now moving on to the last part of the unit, we will see that what is the relationship of economics with the other subjects. Right, we'll see its relationship with statistics, finance, mathematics, marketing, operation research, and so on. Let's first understand that how managerial economics is applied in micro, or how managerial economics is called as applied microeconomics. Why? Because it uses the law of demand. It uses the concepts of supply, elasticity, production theory, cost curves, and market structures for practical decision making. Right? I'm sure you all must have visited Cafe Coffee Day. So it uses the elasticity, why to decide price, right? And how they have to increase the price without even losing their customers. So that is why we say that managerial economics is nothing but it is applied microeconomics. Moving on to look at its relationship with statistics, we understand that statistics helps in forecasting the trends. It also let us understand the demand patterns, to analyze the consumer behavior and to control the quality. And we say that these are the important aspects for making the economics or managerial economics workable. Like any of the FMCG company, HUL, it used statistical models so that it can project the seasonal demand for the products like cold drinks and ice creams. We can use regressions so that we can forecast the sales of different products. To see its relationship with accounting, we say that accounting provides managerial economics with various aspects like cost data, budgets, and financial statements. Managerial economics actually uses this data to analyze the cost behavior and the pricing strategy. Any of the restaurant that uses food cost percentage, they take it from the accounting records and they decide the menu prices. The relationship with finance. Finance provides tools for capital budgeting, for investment decisions, cost of capital, risk assessments, right? This managerial economics, these tools so that it can make long-term business decisions. Amazon, a very famous online shopping platform, it invests in the warehouses after evaluating all the return on investments that uses financial models only. Let's look at its relationship with mathematics. Now this mathematics supports in the optimization. For example, maximum profit, maximum cost, break-even points, marginal analysis, right? All these decision models comes from mathematics. Like when we calculate the marginal cost and the marginal revenues, it is again a mathematical model. So all the e-commerce giants like Flipkart, Amazon, they calculate the optimal discount percentages. How? By using these mathematical cost revenue models. Let's look at its relationship with marketing. What marketing provides? It provides insights into consumer behavior, into branding, segmentation, pricing strategies, and the demand patterns. Managerial economics is using these so that it can set the right price and the promotion strategies. Right? For example, any of the soft drink company, let's say Pepsi, it decides promotional offers. How? By using the demand elasticity and with the help of the market research data. Its relationship with operational research, of course. OR provides different tools like inventory control, linear programming, scheduling, transportation model, decision theory. These complex decision-making tools are used for taking the decision in the organizations. Like Amazon uses OR to optimize the delivery routes and the warehouse operations. Everything runs basis the tools provided by operation research. So this is where we finish this unit. Let's quickly summarize and then we will look at the examination point of view. We have in this entire unit learned that economics studies scarcity and allocation of resources. It is both an art and a science. Managerial economics applies these principles so that the managers are able to solve the real business problems. It also helps managers to forecast the demand, to fix the price, allocate the resources and reduce the risk. It is deeply related to economics, statistics, finance, accounting, OR and marketing. The questions that generally have been coming in the last year examinations are: define economics, explain its nature and scope. Is economics an art or a science? Explain. What is the relevance of economics in business management? Define managerial economics, explain its nature and scope, and finally discuss the relationship of managerial economics with other subjects. So these are the questions that have been seen in the last years. Thank you so much for learning with BBA Simplified by Dr. Vinky Sharma. In the next video, we will be talking about Unit 2, that is on demand. Do like, share, and subscribe for more marathon classes. Thank you so much for watching.